I just made 110 gauze napkins for my daughter's upcoming wedding in August. And I dyed them an ombre blue. So I thought maybe you might be interested in seeing how I did that. It's very simple. Most of you probably know how to do this, and there's other videos on YouTube. But this is very simple, and I used gauze. I'm going to measure 18 inches, and I'm going to cut it with my wheel here, my cutting tool, which makes it so easy. We bought a lot of gauze, but because we were making so many, but you can find various lengths of gauze on the internet, as well as probably your local fabric store. So I just cut it 18 inches. Now it's 36 inches wide, and we're going to keep it that wide because it's so thin for the wedding, and they can drape it across their lap. So I've cut this the right size, and now I'm going to prepare to dye. Now you want to follow the instructions on whatever dye you use. And I added salt and hot water to mix my liquid dye. And I just bought inexpensive dye from my fabric store. So I'm going to fold it over like this because what we're going to do is we're going to dye the bottom. And she's going to use the napkins like this at her table. And I will show you a couple of finished napkins here that I did, okay, already. And all these are going to be packed up and taken with me to California. So what I'm going to do is just wet this, okay? I'm going to pull this over here. It's just a bucket of water, any, room temperature, whatever. And I'm going to dip it up, not all the way to the top, because I'm not going to dye all the way to the top. You see? I'm just going to leave the top part white. So then I'm going to wring out that water. And then the next step, and you can wear gloves for this. I'm just not a very good glove person. I'm kind of hands-on. And then I'm going to dip this all the way as high as I want my ombre. This dye has been diluted with water, okay? So it's not very strong dye. It's pretty light and it's pretty diluted. Now you can use different colors of dyes, but because I had so many to do for the economy of it, I just diluted my dye. Okay? So water and then your first diluted dye. And then this one here is more of the regular strength dye. And I'm going to dip it up to a certain amount. If you can see that, let me wring it out a little bit and pull the pan away. You can see, okay, the top is white, then the second one, and then is the lighter, and then the third one is the regular strength. Now this last one, I really didn't use in my daughter's, but I wanted to show you how you can actually use 3 different. Now this is a little stronger dye in the water bath. I took the medium and added a little bit of black and more blue dye. And then I just dip in a little bit. See how much darker that is? Okay. And then just wring that out. Move that over so you can see it. And then you can see the 3 colors all the way up to the white. Now, I let this dry a little bit, but you can go ahead and rinse it in fresh water right now if you want. And it will just lighten it and takes the excess dye out and blend it a little bit more. So just rinse it out a little bit. Try not to get any of the dye up on the white, and then just wring it out. You probably want to do more than that of the rinsing. You're supposed to rinse until there is no more dye. And there you have a wet napkin that is ready to dye. Ready to dry, excuse me. It's already dyed. And make sure your hands are not got dye in them, because when you touch this, you'll get dye on it. But I think you can see the color variation. And that is all one dye. It's just more water, less water, and then a lot more dye. And then, like I said, I added a little bit of black. But you wouldn't have to do that. I just had black that was open, and so I used a little. So you can rinse it more if you want, if it's too dark. It will dry lighter. And then just let it dry on a clothesline, or you can hang it over a hanger. Just depends on how many you're making. And then these are the ones, like I showed you before, that are already dried. I've already trimmed them up. They had a little, the edge was a little wavy, so I trimmed that with my cutting wheel, and then folded. And then I did iron, just folded them over and just ironed them a little bit so that they'd be nice for the wedding. But I like this frayed edge here. So I hope that gives you some inspiration to make some napkins for your table in ombre.